This video is on how to use our class's Nova Library site and our research planner. The Nova librarians have done a very nice job putting together a research site for us. If you go to our home screen and click Research, you'll get there. On the left side is the navigation bar, and you can see how it's broken down here. Each one of these segments, when you click it, it turns yellow, and then it's broken down by what you see here. So alert, English 111, dual enrollment information, that kind of thing. So we'll start just by going through it here and looking at a few things. Books and ebooks, they have a wide variety which you can search for here, and you can also do an advanced search and get a lot more specific about what you'd like. Notice also some examples of good search terms and use of Boolean commands such as and or. And it's suited for our particular project because it involves technology at every turn. So this is technology and psychology and career or vocational guidance. The or there is because career is synonymous with vocational guidance, and it doesn't want to limit the choices unnecessarily, so that's what the or is there for. So just different ways of thinking through how to do a search up here for books and ebooks. Then there's some suggested ones in this carousel that you could look through and see if one is applicable to you. The databases, I'll click there, it turns yellow and is broken down here. Various databases and descriptions of periodical types, and a little blurb on why Google isn't such a great idea. And this is a really good short video that will convince you, at least it convinced me, to use Google sparingly. Beneath there, tech blogs and magazines. This is a list of periodicals that are not necessarily ones that you would associate with academic research, but our project doesn't require, but I think one of the choices you have is to find an article from a popular magazine, and these have links to them. And for instance, Wall Street Journal Tech, some of them you will need to have a subscription for, and some not. Avoid the ones that you would pay to get. Sometimes some magazines or newspapers such as the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times permits you to use some of their articles free and some not. So make sure you check before you get too deeply into an article to see if you can get all the way through it without paying. So these are also beyond the Washington Post and New York Times, periodicals that are popular that have to do just with tech, such as Tech Advisor, Innovation in Tech Today, Geek Time, Wired Magazine, and Computer World, probably the two that really come to mind. MIT Technology Review, that's getting toward academia for sure, and would be a good choice to look at as well. Then we have websites. So here we are using Google after all, but using it rather in a targeted fashion. And then some tips on effective searching, again, more Boolean operations, and then citing sources. Very good choices there. MLA citation is what we'll be using, so you'd want to use these two links. We also have other resources for MLA citation as well. And if you use the databases, you can almost always find the MLA citation made for you, which is one of the benefits of using a database. I'd like to introduce, before I get involved in one of the databases, I'd like to introduce you now to our research planner. It is here. It is a way to collect your information in a way that allows you to think through what you're reading and save it for later. So there are two steps in it. One is to paste your original working thesis, which I've done here. Because voting machines are easily hacked, the federal government should require that all state and local jurisdictions eliminate them. This is the working thesis, the first working thesis of Zerput, my student who you will see at the end of the alphabet and the list of student blogs on our College Comp website. So the second step is to maintain a working bibliography and an annotated bibliography, and pause to consider how your thesis is evolving. We'll be studying about the evolving thesis in mid to late November, and we'll keep track of how our thinking about our thesis changes over time. It may change radically, 180 degrees. That's pretty rare, as we'll learn, but it can evolve in smaller ways, such as exceptions, and it usually gets a little bit more sophisticated as research goes on. More on that later. Anyway, page 2 has what to do if you don't have an MLA citation made for you, if you're not using a database for particular thoughts. Make sure to collect this information, depending on what source you use. If you're using a book, here are the things to make sure you collect: periodical, what to collect, and then web sources, what to collect. The first source I've done here, and I'll show you how I got it and what I did with the information I found. Back to the databases page. So I'm going to use one of my favorite sources, which is EBSCO, and here it's limited to computers and applied sciences, but you can pretty much find much of what you want by deciding which one of these EBSCO subsections you choose to use. I'm going to put in voting machines and security, and down here I'm going to choose all publication types, academic journals as well as periodicals, reference books, etc. But I'm going to limit my results to full text. I don't want abstracts because I don't want to go trying to find the full text elsewhere. I'll click search. See how many results? 84 results, not bad. Manageable amount. This looks interesting. That, to me, a case study, that could get down into the weeds, which is where I'm going to need to be in the proof section of my paper. But I'll start with the first one here, How to Defraud Democracy. That sounds rather punchy, juicy, not too abstract for me or too technical for me. That's what I'm really fearing, because I don't know much about computers yet. I guess I'll get an education in it as Zerput. Abstract. The article focused on U.S. presidential election, which caught the intelligence and cybersecurity communities off guard and taught threat models for cyber warfare, which were wrong. Topics discussed include how 2016 elections have made improvements to election machinery. I wonder if that means like a voting machine, or is it talking about machinery in an abstract way? I'm not sure. Okay, well, there's something there about voting machines. And you know, I could just cut to the chase by doing a Command F or Control F if you've got a Windows machine. And I'm going to use machines here and find out where it talks about voting machines. Aha. And what I did was I put a lot of the information, like the source's title, the author, the information necessary to make an MLA citation. Because I'm using a database, I'm able to copy and paste. I click Cite, up comes all kinds of citation formats. I'm going to go to MLA, which is ours. I copied it and pasted it here. By the way, when you paste, you want to go to Edit and Paste without formatting. Otherwise, it's going to copy any background color, and the font's going to look all scrambled, and it'll make it difficult for you if you want to put some of that in your works cited page later, or even if you want to use a quote from one of the other one of the other cells here. So you want to make sure you don't just do Control or Command V for paste. You want to go here in Google Doc, Edit, and then paste without formatting. So I described the source and summarized its main point, which I did just by reading through it. How did I find the source? I found it through EBSCOhost on our Classes Nova library site. How does the source relate to an aspect of your paper? I had to read through the article, sort of skimmed it, and then focused on things that seemed helpful. The article covers a number of issues relating to the integrity of elections, and one of those issues is my issue, voting machines. It has a good basic has good basic statistics about voting machine use and vulnerability, and that's helpful. It also puts voting machines in the broader context of election security. I'll need that broader context when I frame my argument about voting machines. This next cell is where I'm supposed to put between 20 and 40 words or so. Hey, if it's more than 40, no problem. But just the most relevant part of my paper, put quotation marks around it. Why do I think it's authoritative? In other words, tell me a little bit about the article. Well, I'm not going to just talk about EBSCOhost, though I do at the end. The article itself is from Scientific American. That's where it was first published. So I did a little research about that and described it here as a hybrid between a popular and academic journal, and how it boasts on its website of, quote, a digital archive back to 1845, including articles by more than 150 Nobel Prize winners, close quote. So, and then what bias does the author have, and how can you tell? How much, if any, does the author's bias diminish the source's reliability? Why do you say so? And I determined that the writer is pro-democracy and champions free elections with auditable results. I point out some evidence of that bias, if you could call it that. But then I point out that a republic with a representative form of government is one among many choices, but it is one the United States has used since its founding. One would have to wish for something other than a republic to find the author's bias objectionable. So sometimes it's an interesting question about bias. You also will be filling all 10 of these out, though you'll need 5 for your paper that we'll have next month in December, that you'll be writing then. So you'll need to fill out, for the ones you use in your paper, at least 5 of the ones you'll use in your paper, which is the minimum number of sources, you'll need to fill out the entire table for that source, just as I did with my purple wording from the Scientific American article. But the other 5, because there are 10, the other 5 are for things you find that you may not necessarily want in your paper, but you don't want to do all that work for a source that you're not going to use in your paper. So for 5 of those sources, you'll fill in only the first 4 rows of the table. So 5 of your sources, 5 of the tables will be completely filled out. And for another 5 of your sources, you'll need to fill out only the first 4 rows. So make sure you do that and don't work harder than you need to. I tend to do the first 4 rows when I find something that's possible. And then if I really think I'm going to use it, then I'll go back and do the rest of the rows. You may choose to do things a little differently, but that's the minimum that you're required to do. 5 full and 5 that you use only the first 4 rows for. This is not going to be due until the research paper is due the last day before winter break. Keep working on it. Don't turn it in until then, because if you turn it in, then we have to figure out how I can get it back to you for you to keep using it. So it'll save automatically, and you'll find it where it is, and I'll keep moving it from week to week into whatever our current module is. So you'll always be able to find it easily. So the idea is, even as you're doing your work on the blog and it's not really focused on doing all the research necessary to write a paper, you'll find things that you'll want to use. So that's why I'm introducing this research planner early in the process, because you're going to find things for use in the blog posts that you write that you'll want to hang on to and not go, oh, I wish I'd saved that source. I can't find it now. This will prevent that from happening. And you're free to use more than 10 of these tables if you want to. Just copy and paste a blank table, and you can use more than 10 if you care to. All right. Thanks very much. Happy researching.